Well, there we are.
Take a little
A little introduction. An introduction to the MG Car Club there, extolling the virtues of the club and trying to get people to join. I did that little video for the International Historic Motoring Awards, which we were nominated for Club of the Year last year, and we were runners-up in the end, and they never used the video anyway. So.
It's a very nice video.
Anyway, it's on the front page of our YouTube now, so when people land on our YouTube channel, that's the video that sort of comes up automatically. So, here we are at the annual general meeting. There is the agenda, which you've all probably got anyway. So we're going to rapidly get through this, and the first bit is actually me. No, it's not, it's the minutes. Minutes of the AGM held on the February 24th, 2024 for approval. So, do we have any? We do have any.
There's one observation. On last year's agenda, under elections, there was a motion to increase the number on the committee, which was voted on, but it's not in the minutes.
That was another attempt of the Secretary to get himself sacked. However, it is quite important.
It's quite important, as we've actually got 13 standing this year, so recollection from everyone is that the motion was passed, so it just needs recording in an amended set of minutes.
Yeah.
The background is that I took that motion and therefore didn't write it because I was standing up and then completely forgot about it. And my wonderful committee, when I asked them to check the minutes, also didn't notice. However, it is quite important that we did actually change the number of people on the committee. We are restricted to 10 by club rules, but providing a general meeting allows us to increase it. We can increase it, and last year I suggested that we gave ourselves a bit of headroom and went to 15. And I'm sure you all remember absolutely perfectly that you all said yes.
Didn't you?
So if the minutes can be amended in that way,
Yes, I think we can.
then
We'll do that.
it will make life a little easier later in the meeting.
Okay, thank you, John, for bringing that up, and we'll amend the item in the minutes
He
there.
does have his uses.
He does sometimes,
He does
yeah,
have his uses.
occasionally. Right, so that kind of covers the next one as well a little bit, doesn't it? Matters arising from the minutes. Did you have anything else previously notified to you, Mr. Secretary?
Absolutely nothing
Nothing?
other than the one just done.
No, I don't think anyone else had anything arising from there, so we can move into item 5, which is the jolly old chairman's report. All the reports are on the website, so if you haven't picked one up today, there are some copies up there. You can go on the website and read all the reports on there as well, and that includes the chairman's one. So I'm not really going to repeat that too much, but as a bit of an introduction today, the centre is a very historic centre within the MG Car Club. We were the first one to be set up, and in fact this introduction was inspired by Will, who last night sent me that, which is the South Eastern Centre Bulletin, November 1966. And that's the Nuffield Gold Cup, which is given to the CRB, who's done the most for the club, really. And we won it in 1966, and I'm thinking that we also won it in all those other years as well.
I would think so.
Up to that point. It doesn't say that in the bulletin itself. But yeah, so that was that, and there we go. So that is the actual bulletin. It's hand typed. Now we've come a long way since those days, I think, haven't we? And we now do an email newsletter, and we're going to take a further step with the newsletter this year. With any luck, we'll taking it a little bit further and turning it into a kind of more of a magazine format. So we're taking another little step on that. Will is going to be talking about that anyway. But the Nuffield Gold Cup was awarded for the most meritorious growth, enterprise and enthusiasm. As you can see, that Gordon Cobban has written there. He was the secretary at the time. And he actually made the comment that it's the wrong way round. So it's without enterprise and enthusiasm, the centre would have little chance of growth. Probably right, but I think that our centre is actually full of enthusiasm. We have an enthusiastic committee, and only last week we were quite enterprising in spending a whole day reviewing the centre's procedures and practices. Handily, that was in a locked room in the back of the pub. So that was actually quite good, really. We had lunch, so on. Austin's going to be speaking about that just in a little while. Lucky thing. It's also worth noting that the meetings back then were in faraway places. You can see up there Norwich, Woodstock, Hitchin, Milton Keynes, High Wycombe, as well as some actually in Surrey, Kent and Sussex. So the centre in those days, in the 60s, was a lot bigger than it is now. Of course, these areas now are covered by Anglia and the Abingdon Works Centre. So basically the South Eastern Centre covered all that at that point. Interesting though, we still have the same sort of system of meetings. They call them monthly meetings then, we call them natters now. I'm not quite sure when that name came about, but obviously not in 1966 because it was slightly different there, but that's still going. And that's kind of the lifeblood of the centre. It's getting out to the local people, local venues, that meetings going on. Part of our review also looked at these, and we identified some areas that might be lacking in meetings, and we're going to be addressing that. But again, Austin's going to mention that. I think the main thing is that the centre is still very important to the club. It is the oldest in the club. It's still the largest in terms of membership, if not physical size anymore. And membership is an issue these days, as Michael will testify. And again, Austin's going to be talking about that a little later. So
you are going to do a lot of talking.
Well done, Austin.
You remember all this?
And if it sort of go through it, I haven't put the whole of the newsletter up here, but there are some sort of famous names on there, including Sammy Davis, who was giving a talk for Tony Bugbird at the Ho Boy in Ockham. And it's nice when these old, pre-war drivers were still around and they were coming to our meetings. Of course, we can't do that these days. But Ron Gammons was there, Sid Beer, who was racing at Brands Hatch, alongside a certain AJ Scott in his J2. And the quote, which you can see there, AJ Scott, first off the line in his J2 and last of the runners in the Triple M class. He would be overtaken by Armayton and his midget. So it was expected that Alan would be overtaken. Which I thought was quite nice, really, to find that last night. Sadly, we lost Alan last year. Delighted that Sue is with us today as well. Brilliant to see you, Sue. So I just want to have just a little pause to reflect and remember Alan and other members that have passed before we move on to the bulk of the AGM. So just have 1 minute silence, Mr. Secretary. Okay, lovely, thank you.
I'll just say I think it was commendable that Alan, along with Sue, was actually right up to the end.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. Very much so. Yeah, greatly missed, I think. Particularly, there he is in 1966, being overtaken. It is J2. Oh, there we are. Okay, lovely. That was a nice thing that came in last night, and I built that whole introduction around that.
That was probably the time he broke the crank.
Oh, could have been, yeah. Anyway, thank you for that. So I'm just going to mention about the charity. Last year It was Prostate Cancer UK. £2,803 was raised, which is a record amount for us. A lot of that came from a bit of an overabundance of sponsorship, which came in quite late. So we'd already spent a lot of money, got other sponsorship, and we had a little surplus at the end, some of which went to the charity and boosted that figure. So I think it's unlikely we're going to get to that figure again. But we have had some nominations for the charity for next year to support, and the committee has been voting on them, and the winner was the Royal Marsden. So that'll be the charity that we'll be supporting next year.
This year.
This year? Yes, this year. Not next, is it next year? Yes, this year. Yeah. So, lovely. So, thank you very much. That's me done for a bit. And I think Austin is next on the Ocky with a preliminary report of the review and reset day. Over to you.
This is where you pick up the piece of paper that you haven't got.
Oh, okay. So,
Which is a bit of a pity, really, but there you go. Hang on,
Okay.
I'm struggling here, trying to do more than one thing at a time, and you know, I'm only a bloke.
That's an image of Austin up there at the moment.
Well, I'm not too sure about only at the moment, actually. We had this, we called it Review and Reset Day. We were aware that the committee that's running at the moment has been running with very little change for quite a few years. It was a big change before that, but then we've run more or less as we are for, 4 or 5 years, I suppose. And we were aware that maybe a little bit of a think wouldn't be a bad thing, particularly since it's, the unescapable fact that that membership is sliding. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later on. But I think if you've got a membership sliding and you continue to do exactly as you did before, the chances are nothing much is going to change. So we thought we should take a little bit of time. And what we suggested was that each of the committee members who is responsible for a particular part of the function of the centre would take a discussion period. And I allocated them the grand total of 15 minutes in order to lead the discussion. Some were managed to get within that, some miserably failed. But that's, you can't expect too much, particularly if you invite the director of the board down, really. But there you go. The first thing we looked at was the magazine, and again, or at least the newsletter, which it is at the moment, and William's going to talk about that, so I'm going to skid straight past that, other than to say we thought there was room for change. And William's going to guide us through that, so I'm not going to bore you by taking you through that again. Trophies. Well, he is now. William is brilliant on his feet, and he, unlike me, he can think straight. No, you've got a section, haven't you? Hasn't he got a section?
He's got a section.
Yeah, you've got a section. The other area that has caused quite a bit of consternation and a little bit of disagreement, I think, within the committee has been trophies. There's no doubt that the trophies that were awarded for certain things 10, 15 years ago, some of those things just don't exist anymore. So we are starting to look at the trophies that we've got, which ones should be retained, which ones should have the same notation as they did in the past, and which ones should change. The good news is that I don't have to bore you with that either, because we're going to set up a working group to look at that in some detail. But like all of these things, if there are suggestions and things that you want us to be aware of, then send it to Tim, not me. Fortunately for me, we have Philip Russell-Smith on the committee because I used to take responsibility for the award ceremony and the annual lunch, and I've managed to more or less duck out of that and get Philip to take that over. I'm delighted that Philip has taken that over because, again, it does produce a few brickbats. So it's nice that the brickbats tend to go somewhere else, or at least shared. And we had, for those of you that weren't there, we changed the way that ran this year so that we had the awards separately at the beginning of the meeting, which increased the focus on that. And I think that went down well. It also meant that people could pitch up for that for a very small fee. They got a cup of coffee and a piece of cake for a tenner. And then they could join us for lunch afterwards. Again, we have decided that this year we will continue with that same arrangement. We'll probably tweak it again. Your secretary was stupid enough to put on a secretarial challenge again this year at the lunch. This time I decided to make it paper-based because last time it was outside in the open, and it absolutely tipped it down. I have some wonderful pictures of John here, absolutely drowned by the side of his car, but he did win. So we did that, and I managed to produce some prizes that I'd managed to turn on my lathe. Website. Again, I don't think there's much point in my talking about that because you're coming up later. Finance.
Again.
It was quite interesting actually for me because Ron got up on his hind legs and took us through the way he runs the finance and his spreadsheet. And it was a nice introduction to the dark arts. Again, I don't think I need to say any more because Ron will be on his feet. Getting there. I'd be able to duck out of all of this lot if you've got this written in front of you. Michael joined us from HQ so that he could start to understand a little bit about us. And it can't have been too bad because he's come back today. So it must have been quite a reasonable thing to do. He, stupidly, I think, on for himself, he's looking after 4 centres, not just one centre. So he's looking after southwest Cornwall and Devon and southeast and must be another one. Anglia, which is your own centre. Again, I think almost he's not on the agenda, but we will have Michael on his feet at some point to say something. So again, I will shut up. We then had a look at the archives, and it's an area, I think, of considerable scope for development. We are collecting stuff, and at the moment it is fairly distributed in people's garages and lofts and offices and this sort of thing. But there is historical stuff around. We have not the foggiest idea what we should do with that. But I think it would be nice if we could find some way of centralising it. There is also, of course, an electronic archive, and those of you that go onto the website rather more than I do will know that there is a history section run by our glorious chairman, and I think we're going to be trying to develop that as well. John has got quite a lot of stuff, and he tells me it's very safely backed up. Competitions. Yes, we were very disappointed that we invited the young members group to get involved with the competitions within the South East Centre and hit a bit of a blank wall there, which is it disappointed us a bit. John has been working really very hard to restore competition to our centre, and again he's going to be on his feet later, so I can shut up. The committee. Oh yes, I did that one. The committee, I think, has worked very well online. We were forced online by COVID. We've stayed online ever since. I have raised the issue once or twice about going back to face, and each time I do so, I get bruised, primarily by my chairman. So I think I've given up on that one. But the face-to-face meeting that we had for the review day, I think was very much appreciated. And I think what we will do is try to meet once a year as a committee, face-to-face, and probably not quite right up against the AGM, just to give the Secretary a sporting chance of organising one thing before he has to organise the next. I have been moaning, and I'm going to say this publicly, I have been moaning ever since I have been on the committee that we do all our planning 1 year ahead. And I told the group that I have never been in an organisation that plans 1 year ahead. I have always been in an organisation that plans 2 years ahead and then confirms 1 year ahead. I don't think I'm going to get traction, but I'm going to continue to try. And then we looked at membership. I can say at this stage that I spoke to Diana. Diana Calvert is our membership secretary. She has considerable problems at home with her husband, so I specifically asked her whether she wished to continue as membership secretary, and the answer to that question was yes, please. The corollary of that is that she will work as membership secretary to the extent that she can do from home. Getting out and about is now getting really a considerable issue for her. So there are bits and pieces of membership, which is a big topic, that need to be picked up by other members. One of the things we will pick up is the membership material that goes out. It's getting really quite out of date, and she is very keen that someone else should update all the membership material that we send out, and then she will continue to do the admin part of it. And I think I can shut up.
I think you probably can. Thank you. Well, we have taken one of those on board already, because we've already booked the South East run for next year. So yeah, it's working. We're 2 years ahead, nearly.
Yes.
Almost. Right. Okay, so we've done that one. Now we're on to Treasurer's report and the annual accounts.
Do you have a little
And
thing?
there he is, up there with a lovely painting.
Oh,
And I'm going to hand that over.
there you go. Which button do I press?
The right-hand
Slide
side
back so
one.
you can see that.
That's fine.
You right?
Yeah. Who's that handsome chap on the right? Left.
I don't know. Not sure. Carry on. Oops.
Right.
Oh, crumbs.
Leave the money. Treasurer's Report 2024, it says. And just in case I forget who I am, that's who I am. But before I start that, I'd like you to turn, if you would, to your song sheet that I think everybody should have a copy of. The first page is just a summary of the things that I'm going to be talking about in the presentation. But what I won't be doing is boring you, as I did, as Austin intimated earlier, at the event we had 2 weeks ago, when I talked through the spreadsheet that I use to actually generate the reports that follow the first page. So I won't be boring you with that, unless you'd like to. Yes? No? Right.
Next up on the list is... Oh,
You.
it's you, Austin. Are you
For a
okay?
change.
Are you okay? You can take it?
I think I'll stop coughing.
Yeah.
Uh,
Excellent.
Right,
Secretary of
Secretarial Membership Report. An awful lot of what's in my report has come up, surprise, surprise, in the other reports. The highlight, I think, of the year patently was MG 100 South East. No point in my talking about that anymore. For obvious reasons, we've done it a lot. We've already talked about the sad losses this year, both Alan Scott and David Griffiths.
Last year.
Last year. I, each year, like to thank the committee members for supporting the chairman and me. And even from time to time, working on the committee can be quite fun. Just now and then, in between everything else. But it is actually seriously a great thank you to all the members on the committee because they all work like stink. It's a committee that runs a very active centre, and we really carry no passengers. It's that is really I think something that one can rarely say about committees. Quite often you find you've got 2 or 3 doing all the work and the rest are feet up. That is not true of our committee, and for that I thank them. Am I going to go through each of you? I don't know. Maybe I am. No, I'm not. One person I am going to mention is sitting at the back there, Liz Woolley. She has joined our committee as an observer for the last 2 meetings. I backed her into a corner at one of our meetings some while back and said, "You'd just love to join the committee, wouldn't you?" And she said, "Of course I would." So you will find when we get a bit later on in the meeting, she will be up for election as the additional member to the committee. So when we get to it, there will be a re-election of the current members, assuming you say yes, and Liz is up as an additional member. It's a continued drive to get a little bit of gender balance, let alone everything else. But I have watched Liz at a distance, and I think she's going to be something of an asset.
Liz is looking a little worried now.
Good. That's the purpose. Well done. I can give myself a tick. I always like to do this because I think this is what I do. I'll give you the figures. Always like to give you the figures. We ran 7 major events plus 3 alternative pride of ownership competitions. We had a presence at the Cars at the Castle. We held 10 committee meetings, 5 Natter and Wanderer Elite meetings, 5 centenary subcommittee meetings, all via Zoom. There were 3 other ad hoc working parties, and the chairman and the secretary attended 2 face-to-face council meetings, plus the chairman attended a further council meeting. So we do a little bit. I thought you'd like to know that we do try to do a little bit of work. Now, I'm supposed to be doing membership as well. And as is the wont of my chairman, with about 2 days to go, he said, "I've done some slides for you." Oh, there they are. You'll take us through the membership, won't you? Well, I've taken you through part of the membership already. I've taken you through the background about Diana. There is no 2 ways about it. Membership is an issue within the main club. It is not an issue restricted to main club. It is an issue associated with all membership organisations. There is the reluctance of people to be involved in membership organisations. So there has been a general decline in the membership on main club and in the centre. And you'll see from the slide that Tim has produced there, and he's going to tell you, or he will tell me, that means we've hit the bottom and we're now on the way back up again. Look at that, we're coming up again. I'll believe that if it goes on going up. I'm much more of a sceptic than my chairman, and I suspect that might be a bit of a blip. But let's assume it isn't, and that we are turning a corner and going back up again. We are taking action, and the review and reset day was a good chunk of that. Main club is taking action. Tim has put up the second of the pair of slides that he sent to me, and said, well, if you dig deeper you might find more things from this, and really is quite granular. So in the same vein as I've just suggested that Michael might like to talk about from what goes on from main club, I think it'd be sensible if I asked Tim to take us through this thing that he produced. Wouldn't you just love to do that?
Yeah,
I thought he would.
There's not much, it's pretty obvious really on there. The graph is quite interesting because when you look at the younger members up the top, the under 30s, there's only 17 of those. And they barely make any inroads onto the graph at all up there. By far the biggest category of our membership is single members, wherever they are, 887. Have I got that slightly wrong? Anyway, yeah, it's 887, 222 joint. Maybe that's the angle I'm looking at it. No, it is all right, isn't it? It's weird because when I'm looking at it here, it looks like there's 222 honorary members. How strange. But yeah, so single memberships do seem to be the bulk of what we've got.
Yeah.
It's obviously an issue that the club is thinking about there anyway, and it does reflect on the centre there. The other thing of note really there is digital members are increasing, so they're the ones that do not receive Safety Fast in the post. And looking at the full list of members that we get from Kimber House, most of the later ones are digital only. So that seems to be a trend that is moving in that direction, which could save money on printing eventually.
A lot of members on renewal are switching to digital. So we see a reduced income on the subs coming in. However, on the other side of that, of course, we save on the postage, and as the numbers come down, we're printing less magazines.
Yeah.
So there is a saving.
So yes, that is a trend, I think. The only other thing there, our total memberships at 1288, which was on the other slide, which is going up slightly. I hope it continues. I'm not sure Michael's convinced, but
I think if we put a focus on it over the next few months, obviously the whole point of putting a focus on it is to try and push the numbers up.
Increase
So
it. Yeah.
yeah.
but that means when we take into account our joint members, we have 1,780 members effectively. Probably more than that really, because you've got 887 single memberships who've all got partners, but officially that's our membership number at the moment. And the total under 30 I think indicates what Michael's saying, that perhaps we should be concentrating on that 45 to 60 age group rather than those under 30 to try and recruit new members in the future, which is kind of against what we have been doing.
We are still going to push for the younger members, but the major emphasis is going to be on that.
Oh, that other group. Yeah. Lovely. I think that's all I'm going to say about that, Austin.
I think you did that very nicely for me. Thank you very much.
Won't it? So let's move on to the next thing. Competition Secretary. That's Mr. Morgan.
And Vice Chairman.
And Vice Chairman. Absolutely.
Well, first thing I want to say is what differentiates this club to other clubs is the fact that we have got this sporting heritage, which, yes, we've lost a little bit the fact we've had to pull out from doing the racing because of the cost of it. But when you look back through the heritage, when you go back to like 1930, 32, when the M-Type was coming out, the queues of young guys buying M-Types just to go and do the Land's End trial. There's a fabulous picture of some 30, 40, 50 M-Types all queued up, waiting to do the Land's End trial. And this centre's got a long history of having a sporting heritage, and we're trying to keep it going. It's difficult because a lot of people just want to do the socialising side, but the sort of thing we're doing, I think, tries to encourage people to have a go, and it's very risk limiting for the events. Things like the auto solo, great fun to have a fast drive around a bit of a track. Can't drive too fast because the track's not big enough, but and it actually tests out the handling of the car. So you're not risking your car, you're having a bit of fun. And this is something we started doing, this will be the third year we've done it this year. And last year we grew it to 14 MGs doing it. We've done it on the back of not just doing it in our own right, because we couldn't have enough entrants to do it in our own right. So we've joined up with other sporting clubs in the southeast, primarily Seven Oaks District Motor Club, and they come in with us. So they might provide almost 2/3 of the entrance, which gives us our full entry and pays for the event, but we have had a significant group of MGs having a go. And the guy that won it last year was an MGB. His daughter is talking about, who's just hit 18, is mad keen to have a go, and I'm expecting her entry to have a go. We've done it with a mix of the auto solo, the Naviscats, which is really like a glorified treasure hunt, and competition, believe it or not, even includes road runs, concours, pride of ownership, all of which has to comply with the Motorsport UK. Was the Blue Book, is now called the National Competition Rules. And that's really where my role comes in, because I have to make sure that all the events are planned to comply with those rules, which these days gets more and more complicated, but it does provide us with public liability insurance and all bits and pieces like that. The other area where I think we failed miserably is when I was saying about this young person having a go at the auto solo. When you look at clubs like the VSCC, their events are more like a family event. They'll have all the kids out in their cars. I've been to many years ago now, a trial where there was youngsters driving things like Bugattis and Bentleys up a hillside in a trial. We've managed to get 1 or 2 grandchildren come along. We've had, I think on one of the Naviscats, the navigator was a 12-year-old, or was it the auto solo? I can't remember which. But yes, there was a 12-year-old acting as a passenger, helping. We've had, from 14 up, you can actually drive the event. So if you've got a grandchild that wants to have a go, you can actually enter from 14, as long as you can demonstrate you can handle the car.
Private land, I think, from on the road.
And I think this is where we fail, because I bet there's a lot of people in this room who've got grandchildren. There's the car sitting in the garage. Why aren't we trying to get the kids to have a go in the car? Something new we're starting this year is we're going to try an evening auto test. Rather than try and push something into another weekend event where we take up a whole Saturday, we've got an event organised midweek on a Wednesday evening, probably a 2-hour event, an evening auto test on grass. And if I can get 10, 12 people to have a go, great. And it just gives a bit of another thing we could perhaps try and get going. We used to have an auto test championship at one time, and it'd be great to try and get that going. We have to be a member of the Motorsport UK coordinating local club group, which is the Association of South Eastern Motor Clubs. And that, being a member of that, actually opens up all the other clubs like Seven Oaks District, Mason and Kent. So members who want to do a bit of competition can actually enter their events automatically, just because we're like an invited club. We have had 1 or 2 members have a go at auto solos at Brands Hatch, and so on. So we plan to continue with that sort of mix of events, trying to encourage a bit more entries, try and keep it going, working with the other clubs, and so forth. I think I did do a summary of the events we've done. That was all in my report. I'm not going to go through that lot, but it includes all the bits and pieces we've done. My other hat is regalia, and we try and keep the regalia available to members. We're doing it, as they said, through ACE. There's some samples over there what we're doing. I'm looking at doing perhaps special ranges, and I was wearing it's getting on a bit now, this botany wool lightweight jumper. Oh, that looks nice. So I'm looking at perhaps to offer for a short time something like a nice little V-neck lightweight jumper, so that you'll see different little lines like this coming out of different things. And ACE are actually looking to do one time things like key fobs and other things, you had to buy great massive numbers, which wasn't practical. Now they're looking to do perhaps just one or two, you can order just one-off items. So we might start doing travel mugs and a few bits like that as well. So we're trying to keep that regalia available to members without spending lots of money and lots of stock, just so there's something going on to wave the centre patch. I don't know if anyone's got any questions, but I think I'll try to give a very brief summary.
Okay.
John's report is on the table over there, printed up if you want to read it, as is whatever his name is, Andrew.
Who is up next? Okay, whatever your name is, if you can come up here.
Thingy Bob.
I haven't got a badge and I forgot, sorry. So.
That's why I couldn't remember your name.
In a hurry coming out when I got back from holiday late last night, so apologies. Okay, well I haven't got much to say. Most of it I did see Austin's put
It's
behind
all
the
up
board
there.
So if you want to have a take a look there. those-
23 pages of report.
23
Well,
pages.
I thought a picture says 1,000 words, so I did it all in pictures.
Put 1,000 pictures.
But what I'd say is that there were some great events in 2024. And as I said on here, we had the Drive It Day at Spa Valley Railway in April last year. And we also had our West Horsley House, which was the scene of ghosts, which was different. It was a new event. And then also we had the barbecue as well, that John did as well, the Pride of Ownership at Kentish Shore. So some new events we did last year, which were very good. We also had the fantastic turnout on the May with the 100th year, which we've got pictures on there, and that was very, very good. And then going forward, we have 2025. Again, there's a large selection of more popular events. Again, with John doing his auto solo in April. And we've also got the barbecue and Pride of Ownership at Filch at Kentish Horse, and we're also doing the Hever Classics at the Castle, which is very good. And it's a nice day, and it's I mean, for £10 a car, it's an absolute bargain. I mean, bear in mind it's £20 each to get into the Castle. For £10 a car, it's a good day, and it's an easy day. It's an easy day for me as well because they organise it. So all I've got to do is get a list of who's turning up. So if we can have a few more events like that's good. And I'll add further, we're actually now Bromley Pageant. I don't know if you remember Bromley Pageant from old. That was actually stopped because of ULIS the other year. It's now being resurrected. It's going to be at Ardingly Showground this year. So we're renting that, and we're actually doing a stand there as well. So hopefully that might be on the same lines as Hever, where they effectively organise it and we can turn up, we have a stand, and again that'll be a cheap day out as well. So we're trying to sort of do a few more events like that. And going forward again this year, we've got our summer gathering is going to be at Chillingstone. We've got that in August. And then we've also got another new event, well, I say new event, we were last there in 2011, we're going to Newhaven Fort in September for our Pride of Ownership and everything there. I'd like to say thank you to all the guys and everybody and ladies who helped me. It's much appreciated. Philip, you've come on board this year and it's been very good. I've appreciated your help with the events. It was a bit hectic the last few days up to the event and getting all the stuff together and everything, but it all goes well. And as I said, we've never actually lost any money on the events we've done. We've always pulled it off. But thank you all of you for helping and everything. I appreciate that. And I don't think there's anything more. The other thing I was just going to say is our run as well. We are going to do a run this year. You've probably heard about the news of the run on the 18th of May, so that's currently being prepared at the moment. Hopefully be on similar lines to if you've ever been on the West Sussex run down to Eastbourne or whatever. We're going to start doing that and have that as a regular event because that's what we felt the club was missing. So, I mean, I'll do that with my son in September, and it's great fun actually. We normally have a tulip rally map and all the different events on the way, and then the final thing at the end. So, hopefully, many of you can join that as well. But no, other than that, you can see on the pictures there. That was at West Horsley this year, isn't it? So, but that was yeah. We still have the issues with National Trust, which I've sort of drawn the line on really. I mean, we used to be able to go to Poleston and a few of these other places. A lot of them don't want car events anymore. So somewhere like West Horsley, that was an independent venue. We approached those and they were only too willing to have an event there. And it's somewhere different, somewhere new, somewhere I didn't even know existed there before. So we're trying to sort of find, these events all the time, and if any of you got any suggestions, that's always helpful as well. If you know of somewhere near you and somewhere in the southeast and we can get a good price, yeah, great, let me know, just email me or give me a call. It's appreciative. But as I said, we've got quite a few events for 2025 and always looking forward to see what the next events are for 2026. So. All right. Is there any questions at all from any? Yes, hello.
With the elections coming up, I was just wondering whether, looking at the subjects that people cover, someone could be responsible specifically for advertising, because I sometimes feel that the forms come out, or the application, whatever setup you do now and the website stuff,
For the events,
comes
yeah.
out quite late.
Yeah.
Sometimes the personal touch is quite good, because in the day we used to liaise a lot with Abingdon and the centres close to us, or what's it, Anglia Centre, because they used to come down to our main summer events.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just relying on the website for that isn't always enough. If you contacted the chairman or secretary of those centres and perhaps
Mm-hmm.
pushed it with them and asked them to advertise it within their centres
Yeah.
a bit more. Also, there are a lot of MGOC groups, like there's
Yeah.
East Surrey and Epsom around here,
Yeah.
but we used to get people from Hastings and, well, all over. And if you could find those people and just contact them and give them a push. We used to have come to our main summer event and they'd have their own little area with their own little banner up, which is fine,
Yeah.
because it's all promotion, and some of them are car club members as well, so it's a crossover. And just a bit more push on actual contact. And the other thing we used to do, I think magazines still do come out with all these different groups and things, but we used to get it into like the Octagon Car Club magazine, just under their events, and that would be one of our
Mm-hmm.
ones listed, shown as South East MG Car Club. The main Owners Club magazine, I don't know what they've got in their magazine, but all the little magazines that are MG orientated, we used to get our events listed within those magazines,
Right.
and that is quite a big job. I did used to do it in the day, but along other things, but I think these days you have more focus on one thing, and if you had one person doing all that and liaising with you on the events and getting stuff out a little bit earlier to
Yeah,
purchase,
good idea,
I think you
yes.
could get a lot more people.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Okay, thank you,
Nothing else?
Andrew.
That's all right. Thank you.
Thank you. Will, would you like to take the stage?
Like Andrew, I forgot my badge, so I left it home this morning. This is my surprise presentation. Well, surprise to me. It's not really a surprise. So basically, I do the safety fast notes and the newsletter together in conjunction with Ray. Obviously, safety fast we have to do so far ahead. We have to get any articles in more than 4 weeks ahead. So sometimes by the time it's out, there might be an error or there might be a problem or whatever. But we try and then push the main events that we are doing in there, and we've given quite a push for the 18th of May run in the next safety fast, which you'll get, which will immediately have an error on it. But there you go. The finishing point is different. But let's talk about the newsletter. Ray and I have been doing the newsletter for nearly 6 years now. And we're both amateurs. We're not great with Word. We've had marketing backgrounds, and it's the way that we've sort of put it together, and we drop it to each other, and then we add bits and everything else. And a question: how many people get the newsletter in this room? Hands up, please. Everyone. How many people read it right the way through? Being honest.
Eventually.
I suppose here we're preaching partly to the converted. Well, thank you for that. The thing is, we've been looking at it because although 60% of the members actually get it and open it, only 24% roughly go right the way through it, or click through. The click-through rate is the term is relatively low. And so one of the issues is we're thinking, well, how can we improve the newsletter to reach a higher click-through rate and make it more interesting? And then part of our discussion we had, is it too long? I mean, the last issue was 47 pages. That is quite long for people to go right through. So we're thinking of having a shorter newsletter with more references for people to connect to other articles or other points in it. And then we're thinking of changing the name. So have you got? So we're looking at the idea of going to a more visual, larger images, click through the articles, and have a completely different revamp. And with Spark, which our illustrious chairman came up with that idea, and we're going to settle probably on that one, I think, at this stage. So what we're going to do then is do a revamp, and we hope then maximum 25 pages. We're going to have less of all the contacts and everything else, but really make it more informative, slightly more a better photo content. And then all I've got to do is, if anybody wants to volunteer to help me, I've got to work out how to do it, because on an iMac you have a different system to Word, and you don't have Word on an iMac. You have Word on an iMac, but you don't have Publisher, and things are not always compatible. Even when Ray and I are doing things on 2 iMacs, suddenly the photographs arrive upside down, and it gets a bit fun and games. So we're going to do a revamp, and then the aim really, it'd be nice to report here next year that by the time we've done this, we've got a higher click-through rate amongst the membership, so that it achieves more, reaches more people, and then people read the whole thing. Because otherwise, with 24%, it's a lot of work. It's marginal as to its value. So that's the task for the next year. And then we'll continue on that basis. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you, Will. Any questions on that? Nope. Excellent, we're looking forward to that then. That should be a change this year. Okay, we're now on to John.
Right.
Trophies and archive.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to say too much because obviously it's available on the web. I have got my badge. So,
Well done. Well done.
As far as trophies are concerned, they've already been touched on. We are, of course, as everybody appreciates, going through an entirely different world in all senses of the word. But having said that, of course, when the MG Car Club was formed in 1930, and as Tim has already indicated, I think the competition side of things was far more prominent than what it is now. Our main trophy of value is, of course, the Banana Trophy, which was awarded to Vic and his son Andrew. I must correct what it says in Safety Fast, because I'm sure at your age, Vic, you'd love to have won the BCV8 challenge. No disrespect. It was, of course, Andrew driving, but we decided to award it on a joint basis. Vic has been racing MGCs directly and indirectly since 1970. Yeah. And that in its own right is an achievement. Not the fact that he's done well with MGCs, they're a brilliant car, but obviously from a historical point of view, it did race. But I didn't know he was coming today. I thought he might, so I thought we'd better correct Safety Fast there. Anyway, moving on from there, we've obviously got to decide, as we've said already, or Austin said already, what we're going to do as far as trophies for the future is concerned. And I think a number of others would like to see the Banana Trophy still utilised in a competition sense of one sort or another. Indeed, Michael, I think maybe you may well be able to assist in respect of what is actually going on in the course of 2025 BCV8 challenge. The only thing is, whoever we award it to, whether it's BCV8, Triple M or whatever, they've got to be a South East member, which is where it originally came in. And for anybody who's interested, I have brought the history of the Banana Trophy along today, which is on the table over there, which appeared in the 1934 magazine, which Tim, I think, is going to put as one of our archive historical features on the web. But it's fascinating that we've got the background history to it. Obviously supporting John with his thoughts in other directions competition-wise, we may well be able to award something more in respect to filching, and of course even an event like Newdigate if that takes off. These are obviously areas where there is mild competition involved. Bognor Regis Motor Club came across an MG trophy a little while ago, and I think as a result of filching they were able to make contact with myself, which I've now got. It was originally awarded as an MG Car Club award going back a good few years. John Watson, who some of you may recognise his name, was awarded it in the 90s, and a lady called Valerie Gilmore was last awarded in 2001. Don't think anybody is necessarily aware of that name. As I said, we're looking towards revision on the trophies. One of the things that frustrates me, of course, and indeed it was better end of last year as a result of having the awards handled prior to the lunch, is the cost of sending keepsake trophies out to people who haven't made any attempts in order to collect theirs. Now, on that basis, I haven't got so many to send out this year, but they're still going to cost us £6 or £7 a time. If I read out the following names, if there's anybody here who knows the following people and could take the keepsake, I have brought them with me today. I'll just quickly go through. Mark and Jodie Ashman, Stephen and Leslie Brothwood, Howard Scott. Now, Nigel Scott and Richard Thorpe I'm taking care of separately, and there was also a guy called George Pitt, because unfortunately with things like the Naviscats we do get non-club members involved who obviously none of us have got direct links with, other than of course on the day. Obviously nobody is aware of any of those names. I'll quickly move on to archive, which is something that really does fascinate myself. My wife says I'm always living in the past, but I think the past was a lot better in many ways. Obviously MG100 I think was a brilliant success, and it's still interesting to see MGs come out of the woodwork that, as somebody said earlier, they're not necessarily club members. They've got no intention of joining either the owners club or our own club or the Octagon or whatever else, but they still like to come along to certain events. At the Fair Mile on the Saturday, my wife noticed this guy come in an MGB GT, silver coloured, left-hand drive with German number plates, and I think Sue Scott was also on the gate at the same time. Anyway, he was admitted free of charge because obviously he was something a little bit different. John Day, our president, was also around, and as he put it was the mark of friendship. This guy knows John Twist, who gave a talk at the Fair Mile a couple of years ago, who is a very, very keen American MG enthusiast. This guy's car was rebuilt. All the fellow was doing was driving along outside the Fair Mile, saw the MGs, thought, oh, I'll have a look, see what this is. He was actually going to pick his son up from tennis, and I think was late in doing so. And he'd had a car there, an MGB GT, which he had restored. He'd taken it with him round the world. And the reason it was on German number plates, that's where his next contract was going to be, and the Germans were sufficiently helpful to enable him to register it as a German car. As John Day said, who would have ever thought you'd have got somebody like that driving along outside the Fair Mile, coming in, and I did try and get him to join, as I think John Day did. I think he chased him round. Whether he did or not, I don't know. And this is something, Michael, that I've noticed over the last few years. It'd be lovely to know when we as the South East Centre get members who join possibly through Main Club, in order that we can support what Tim and the others were saying in respect to making sure that they do in fact get a welcome in some shape or form. Something that originally took up with the late Derek Edwards I don't know whether indeed it's likely to be practically possible to advise us. But I know Tim has already
notification from Liz of all your members, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah, and their details.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
information
don't
is
think it's-
passed.
And to get a welcome out from Diana, and
Yeah.
and that was one of the things we were talking about. And yes, we are looking at it.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a sort of something for the future there. The other thing that came up, and this was a result of Surrey Wanderers, Philip Bain Powell, who many of you know, he said to me, he said, I've got a tape from when I recorded George Easton. He said, I wonder whether we can do something with that in the South East Centre. And incidentally, Tim and John, he forgot to bring it last Wednesday, otherwise Liz would have had it with it. But that's something that we'll be looking at. I know that both Tim and John are keen to look towards building the archive side, together with myself and obviously others. I think it may well prove to be of future interest, something a little bit different. I think that's about it. I don't want to bore you in any more detail, but as I say, there's a lot going on. We're trying. My wife says I'm trying. After
They all do.
okay.
Lovely. Any observations or anything for John before he sits down? No. Lovely.
No.
Excellent. You can sit down then,
I
John.
did just think of one thing. Liz's point about insuring the trophies is a very difficult one, as I heard what John said. I did make some inquiries 3 or 4 years ago, and insurance companies won't touch it on the basis of it not being in a specific place. I did even actually ask at the Royal Windsor Horse Show what they do with all their trophies. All they do is photograph the recipient alongside the trophy, then they go back into Windsor Castle. So I don't think we
could
can
do
quite
that.
comply with that.
Yeah, that does happen also with the trophies that are kept at Kimber House. We tend to award the trophy and then take it straight back. Obviously, it's easier to insure the trophies at Kimber House because they're all in one location. However, I take your point, because we've been trying to find alternative insurers, and we're finding that insurance companies are just not interested in insuring trophies. So at the moment, we're having to stick with the one company we're already with.
I think I should add, with the valuable trophies in particular, we will only let the recipient have it who we can 100% rely upon, can't we?
Where is it?
Because some of these trophies do have a quite high value.
Yeah. No, as I say, that's something we discussed a little while ago. For instance, the BCV8 trophy should have gone to a member who's right at the other side of North London. This was last year, but we decided that it wasn't the right thing. We have a hell of a job to get it back. And of course, as John Morgan well knows, the original Magic Midge trophy was lost, wasn't it, John, as a result of a person dying. Obviously, it got mixed up with the person's estate. We didn't know anything about it, and goodness knows where it is. I suspect one or two of these others that I've been asked to look after, we've got as a result of possibly similar circumstances. Anyway, there we go. Thank
Lovely.
you.
Okay. Thanks very much, John.
I was only going to raise one point. If somebody has a trophy like the Midge, shouldn't we have at the bottom of the trophy property of the MG code?
They're all marked.
Okay.
Or a
Sorry.
tracker like a dog has.
Yeah.
Stick a tracker on it. Right. Oh.
Who's that?
Must be my turn.
It's your turn. You're
Right,
on.
for the next hour or so, we're going to look at communications, the website, the internet, etc., etc. So, yeah, lunch is booked for 1:30, so we might miss that. So, sorry about that. No, I'll rattle through it today. I have done a written report, which you can see. So, I mean, it's fair to say that most of the centre's communications these days are inextricably linked with the internet. We have emails, we have the social media, we have the website. They're the various kind of ways that we do things. Twitter became X, and we're not really going to be doing Twitter anymore. I think out of these social media things, Twitter's become a bit horrible. I'm not comfortable with having the club on there anymore, so that one's going to go. We're going to stick to Instagram, Facebook, YouTube as our main sort of social channels, really, with Facebook being the leading one on there. So let's just dig down a little bit more, because that's always fun, isn't it? The website, it's grown over the years. It started in 2017 down there at the end of the year. That's why it's quite small. So 2018 was the first effective year. It was a bit of an initial surge. It was new, it was different, so people were looking at it, and then it dropped. And I came in somewhere around here, and it started to grow again. And 2024, we're hitting 23,000, over 23,000, nearly 24,000 views on it, and that's around about 65 views a day. So it's not bad. Obviously, they're not all members. They could be anyone. It's very difficult to say who they are. But I think that's reasonable. 65 hits a day. If we can keep growing at that sort of rate, then that's fine. It could be potential new members looking at it. Could just be people looking at the events. The events page is quite one of the second most popular after the landing page. So yeah, it is kind of the hub of the whole internet system. And that's referring really to the newsletter. The idea would be to link back to something that we put on the website. So rather than doing a long screen in the newsletter, we just click here to see that. So that will become more of the hub really as we sort of go onwards. Hitting on YouTube, there's some figures that are slowly appearing here. I'll let them all sort of come up there, but this is the last couple of years since we started YouTube in 2022. And there we are. So last year, 21,500 views on there, 99 videos. There's 100 videos on there now, but 1,000 hours plus viewing time when people get on there. So people are looking at it, they're going on there, they're seeing it. All the videos are branded, so they've all got NB Car Club South East, subscribe here, join the club, that sort of thing at the beginning and end. So hopefully that's trying to encourage people to actually join the club as a result of watching our videos. That is kind of the main purpose of YouTube, as well as keeping people entertained, to try and get people in. It is a good sort of method, I think. We've now got 428 subscribers on the channel. It's growing. I mean, the target is 1,000, so it's growing slowly, but we're getting there. We're heading in the right direction. As you can see, last 2023, 328, so it's gone up 100 in a year. So, we're going to have another 5 or 6 years if we go at that rate before we get to 1,000, but I'm sure we'll get there in the end. So I'm quite pleased the way that's going. So we've got a few more lovely stats there. Since we started YouTube, 1.6 million impressions. That's where YouTube algorithms put it out to people who are browsing YouTube. So if you go on YouTube, you often get an advert for something, or there's a suggestion pops up, and that's what an impression is. That's being pushed out to people. So out of those, we got 57,700 views. So, around about half of the views we're getting are coming from those impressions, which are going out to people. So that's quite an important thing. And that's resulted in about 3,500 hours viewing time. So again, people sticking with it. One of the things with YouTube is they'll watch 30 seconds and go and do something else. But we do seem to be retaining quite a lot of them for a bit longer than that. 83,000 views overall since we started. So yeah, it's a good method of getting out there. They're quite big numbers, so I'm quite pleased with the way that that's been going. Socials, main page, we've got 1,058 followers now. Not as good as the car clubs, but you know we're getting there. We're over 1,000. So I think that's pretty good going as well, and that's kind of the main social media outlet. And the chat group which runs behind that is a private group for members only. You have to be a member to get in, you have to answer some questions, including your membership number, to be able to get into that. 163 members on there now. It's not used quite as much as I'd anticipated it to be. So it'd be nice if people, you know, could post things, because you can post anything on there, and anyone can post anything as long as you're a member. But the other page, the main one I was talking about, it's only me that can post things on there. But people can reply. So Instagram running at 428 followers, which is growing. Tends to be a younger audience on Instagram, so we try and sort of play to that as well. And I mentioned X before, we're getting rid of that, I think. So there's all the various communications channels that we have at the moment. As I say, most are internet based. Safety Fast is printed. You also have other things on there. I thought there was another slide coming up, but it didn't. But we do have individual natters send out emails as well, so as well as us sending out a MailChimp email to everybody in the centre, and it does get to just about everybody. It's something like 90% now, probably over that, that we have email addresses for. Then the individual natters also send out, and some of those things as individual natters, they may not be members. So as we found out when John put his MailChimp list, his list into my MailChimp system, we found that quite a few were not on the membership list and were not on that system. So getting out to a wider audience through the natters and wanderer groups as well. So I think that's pretty good all round. I mean, Jenny brought up a good point about going out to outside organisations. Most of this is internal, apart from the socials, obviously website where anyone can look in, but it's not targeted in that way. And I think that's something we can look at for future marketing, is targeting local groups and people that have been on similar events before. So I think that's something we'll work through this year if we can. But another new method is just the bottom one there. The MG Car Club has now got a website or web page where it shows all the events in the country, in theory. Some are getting on there now. We've just started to put ours on there. So we've got a couple on there at the moment. We've got to do some more work on that. And Austin's going to do all that, obviously. I've given him the access. But yeah, I put a couple on there already. So we're going to just work towards that and populate it with all our events. And if you do go on the MG Car Club website, you can find it on there. And it does give us quite a lot of events going on in the country. It shows how sort of engaged the club is with the MG world out there, and why people should join it, because there's massive stuff that you can do throughout the country, I think, which is great. Okay, I think that's all I'm going to say on that, because I didn't want to go on too much this time. Sorry about that. Anyone got any questions about internet communication, stuff like that? No? It's good. We were talking about resilience in the review meeting, and there is a lot of stuff there, so we haven't really got a second person that does that, all of that. So there is a sort of a resilience question there, that if I get hit by a bus when I walk out here now,
Fall down a hole.
or fall down a sinkhole, you know, who's going to be doing all that? So we do probably need at least one other person come here that knows how to get in the website, how to do things on the website particularly, because that's probably the more techie bit than the Facebook things. So yeah, I'll put that out there if anyone's interested. Okay, that's me. No questions. So we're going to move on. Yeah, events next year. That's the South East Run, as was. Unfortunately, we're not going there anymore. I sent the email out, so probably everyone should be aware of that. There's overrunning works at the castle, and it's not going to be in a fit condition to have a group of visitors coming around with cars, basically, on that day. It's not going to be ready till September, we learn now. So we're changing the location. We're working on that at the moment, aren't we, Ron?
We are.
We haven't quite tied up where we're going. I don't think that's
We have.
something in the last couple of days.
No, still waiting.
Still waiting on that one. So there will be a new destination announced, hopefully in the next few days, really. Won't it? So then we can do it. Unfortunately, the advert went out in the events leaflet, which is going to be safety fast. So that was. This is obviously already printed, so you know it's in there saying we're going to Hurstman Zoo. It's also got an advert in Safety Fast and Will's column in Safety Fast mentions that we're going to Hurstman Zoo. So unfortunately we're not. But then we thought about that and thought, well, if people do look at the advert and think, oh, that'd be nice, we'll go there. We'll go to the website and we'll have a look. When they go to the website, they'll see that it's a different location. So they'll get that to that point and they'll find it somewhere else. Much to their disappointment, I suppose. So, we do have a full programme next year. We did a little thing which I put out before on the newsletter, last one. All the information now is coming together. The list is on the website. The list is in the events leaflet, which you'll get in Safety Fast in a week or so, maybe less than that now. But so you can sort of hang on to that. We do have some copies up here as well, so if you've got any places you think might want some of our leaflets, please take some with you and put them on our shelf in the library or something. That sort of thing. Okay, do I need to say anything more about events?
No, I don't think so. Yes, but please do take some of these calendars with you if you think you could distribute them.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. We've got a couple of boxes here which we're going to take to some of the dealers around that we know, the MG dealers.
Add to that, Tim, we've got that excellent little leaflet as the
Oh, there's a
intro
little DL
to
as
the
well. Yeah, we did a DL last year, which gives a general background to the club
centre.
and the centre.
Yes, again, so if you want to.
So that's another good thing that can just be pushed out.
They're over there.
Feel free to take as many as you like at the moment, even though it's got an incorrect advert in it. Okay, do we want to pause or carry on?
Well, let's get over it.
Yeah, of course.
Let's get it
we
done.
need to carry on. We were thinking about having a pause before we do the elections, but we'll get that done now. So,
I have to do the next bit, I'm afraid.
I do, because I'm going to stand down
You have to
at this
sit down.
point
Yeah.
and sit down, and Austin is going to stand up and take over.
I don't know. Oh, I might as well stand up. I'm going to go.
Come on, stand up.
You see, the problem is, once you've been down there for a while, getting off the jet. Quite
It's harder all the time.
Right, we come to the elections, and for the first election, we have to elect a chairman. We have one nomination. I have proposed Mr. Morris, and John Davies has seconded Mr. Morris. Do I have any other nominations for chairman? Gosh, what a surprise. Can I have those in favour? Can I have those against? Can I have any abstentions? Wonderful. I can now sit down.
Was that it?
And Mr. Chairman can take over.
We've done it now. Okay. Right, well, thank you very much, everybody. It's like another year then. Right, so the other two officers of the club are the secretary and treasurer. So the secretary is Mr. Banner, who's just done a splendid job. I proposed him, seconded by Will. We have a show of hands. Lovely. Any against? Any abstentions? Well done, Austin.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and the other officer is the treasurer, which is Mr. Kemp at the end there. Proposed by Austin, seconded by me. So we have a show of hands. Lovely. Against? Austin, was that one against that?
Yeah, I think so. No.
Abstentions? No, nothing, thank you. Right, the members of the committee. We can do these on block. I think we're going to do these on block. You see all the names up there and the various roles that they're in. So all proposed by me, seconded
Separately, the rest on block.
by Austin, apart from Liz, who we'll do separately at the end. So do I have a show of hands for this group in the middle? Any against any of those in there? Any abstentions about any of them? No, I think we're all right there then, Austin. Good? Good. And Liz Woolley's a new member coming on, proposed by Ian over there and seconded by Gwen. We'll have a show of hands to get Liz onto the committee. Well done. Any against, Liz?
You're in.
No abstentions, I take it. So welcome aboard, Liz. You're officially
Thank you very much.
a committee member now. Thank you. Well done. I think that's it, isn't it?
There's AOB, but I have nothing.
AOB, we're on to the very end.
Look at that.
Any other business? We've had no notifications of anything that anyone wanted to bring up there, so unless anyone's got something. John.
Go back to the trophies. Would it be an idea that when you're at an event and you announce the winners, first, second and third, to tell the person that there's the potential of an actual trophy? Because I know I won one this year. I've got my rosette, but I didn't realise the trophy was coming with it.
Oh, right.
So would that be an idea at the events to say, there's the potential of a trophy coming, would you be interested? And then it'd be a yes or no. Then, if they can't collect it, would you have gone and bought the trophy in the first place? The glass.
Yeah.
And that would be a saving in. Would you
Good
like
idea,
the
it's a good
trophy?
point. I think perhaps we should be saying that to people. Problem with that has been in the past that we didn't have the awards date until fairly late on, so we've done most of the events before we have the date. This year is a bit different because we do have the date early.
Oh, so you have the trophies?
So we will know what date a trophy will be awarded at Hartsfield Manor on whatever the date is.
It is usually in the entry documentation.
Yeah.
But there are rosettes on the day and awards and the annual lunch.
But there are
It's worth
people like
saying,
still don't realise they're going to get a trophy.
Good point.
Having you get the little tick box on things to tick box if you wanted to opt out of all that. Some people don't want to do that. So you opt out rather than opting in. If you see what I mean. Too complicated.
It might be a bit complicated how that would work. Yeah. John's looking quizzical. So. Okay, lovely. Any other business? Vic.
Something completely different.
Oh, right.
So my sins, I got involved with the Dunball Rally this year, going Margate through France, Spain to Majorca for the Teenage Cancer Trust. They have to buy and do that distance, so I've been equipping them with tool sets, brake fluid, everything they might need, and it's literally on the website, just giving. There's a group of teenagers. If anyone would be interested in any donations, obviously that's what they're doing it for. And they've got this immaculate looking Volvo. They're going to hand paint gold with a dinosaur on it.
What's it called?
Dunball Rally.
Dunball. D-U-M.
Yeah. It's basically not a race, not a rally as such. They've just got to get there.
Right.
And then the cars are sold off at the end. Anything goes into the Teenage Cancer Trust.
Sounds good, doesn't it?
And I just got involved with looking after the car and preparing it, as you do.
All right, Vic. Thanks very much for that.
I've got loads of cash at home. I've got to pay in, whatever.
Talking of which, that is the end of the AGM. You'll be glad to know. We do have the raffle next though, so those that have bought raffle tickets, I have counted up the money and we've got £75 in the kitty there, which is great for this number of people. Thank you very much. And that will go to the new charity. That will kick-start that for the year, the Royal Marsden.